Hello everyone, it's Oliver Harper here, and I'm back with Rob Hill, as promised, to discuss American Ninja 2, The Confrontation. Mustn't forget the subtitle for that. So Rob, are you excited for this?
I'm always excited for American Ninja 2.
Now at the moment, you're currently working on a ninja video, aren't you, for your Bad Movie Bible channel?
I am indeed, yeah. This will be about the 100th ninja movie I think I've watched in the last month or two.
Good lord. I think maybe about 6 of those or 7 are canon films, right?
That's right, yeah. They did the lion's share of the American ones, but not all of them.
Right. So most are kind of, are they like European?
No,
Mostly.
no, most well, the biggest single lump is from Hong Kong, and they're the cut and paste Franken movies, which are that's really where my research, shall we call it, has been focused. And I must have watched at least 50 of these things in the last few weeks, and my mind
God.
is slipping.
Now, you can enjoy this commentary podcast by itself, or you can sync it with your own copy of the film on Blu-ray or an NTSC DVD. So if you want to do that, put the timestamp to 0 on your copy and press play now. Now, this version is from the 88 Films release, which weirdly doesn't have the Canon Films logo at the beginning, which is always disappointing if you don't see that. Let's go straight into the movie. So this sequel, now, from what I read, Sam Firstenberg, once he was, finished the editing process of American Ninja and all the sound mixing, he was given a script for something called, was it Night Hunter? Something like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Night Hunter, yeah. That became Avenging Force. He thought the script was amazing, so he went out and made that movie with Dudikoff and Steve James. And then once that had finished, he went straight into American Ninja 2, because this is canon. They want a sequel.
And he brought his whole crew with him as well, because this is canon, and there was probably an aeroplane flying from one location to the other location, and they thought, well, let's just put the entire crew on it.
I mean, this is a complete change of score as well. We've got George S. Clinton doing the music, who did, I think he did the Austin Powers films and Mortal Kombat the movie.
Did he?
Yeah, so they got rid of the guy and his lonely trumpet from the first one, which was a guy running out of breath trying to play that instrument. Because weirdly, like in the first one, okay, we're seeing Dudikoff as this kind of quiet sort of character who's kind of drawn into fighting corruption within the military. And in the sequel, he is more sociable, but also he's working with the military to sort of crack down on this kind of ninja epidemic or something.
Yeah. And it's. I feel it's kind of a reboot in a way. This film, it doesn't make because also in the first film, Armstrong, Michael Dudikoff's character, has just been forcibly conscripted as like Mahoney in Police Academy. He's just been forcibly conscripted, and now, like a year or two later, he's an army ranger, which I believe is about the most impressive sort of discipline within the American Armed Forces, and he's high ranking, and it just doesn't. There's no real connection between the characters or their, anything about them.
Well, so yeah, because Furstenberg kind of says, that it was essentially kind of repeat the formula of the first one.
Yeah.
Just have a different location and a kind of slightly different setup, but that was kind of the premise. And we're now sort of seeing this sequence where they're going to go into this bar and have a massive big brawl. Basically, it's going to kick off. I don't think it kicks off here. I think it kicks off a bit later when Dudikoff turns up. But it was obviously like Sam Firstenberg's kind of take on sort of Western movies with this kind of traditional sort of bar brawl you see in a cowboy and sort of Western movie from that point. But
it's a very canon, because this is a set, which I didn't realise till I watched the commentary a while back. But they actually, and it does make sense that this is a set because it's a very canon set. It's a massive open space with like a few chairs thrown in there for people to be thrown onto, and it just doesn't quite seem. It seems like a warehouse rather than a bar.
It does, and it's kind of like the lights are really harsh as well. It doesn't have the sort of softer lighting, darker lighting a bar would probably have. This seems very open spaced.
There's this flimsy, extremely elaborate and stupidly placed staircase in the middle of the thing. So you just know that's there for people to swing about on later.
Which Let's let out these ninjas who've been hiding in the room there to sort of what. This is so funny when I saw this for the first time because I never saw this as a kid. It was always like I saw the VHS tape in the store. It was like a really cool cover, and it's always. I think the first one was very much more talked about, but seeing it at a later date, I just found it. As soon as you see this, you see ninjas kind of walk out and take these dudes away. I'm like, what? It's like, and I even feel sorry for them even more in this because they're shooting in South Africa to save money, and it's like that country is like known for being hideously hot, and wearing those black outfits. God, you just roast.
That's the thing, isn't it? Everywhere they shoot ninja movies, it's ridiculously hot. It's either a bunch of them were made in South Africa, a lot of them made in the Philippines, obviously a lot in Hong Kong. They have to wear these tight black things pulled up over their faces and over their heads.
They shoot in countries which have no association with ninjas or martial arts or that country's known for it. You know what I mean? It just seems so kind of arse backwards, because the first one cost like what, $500,000 they'd spent on that, and I think maybe a little bit more than that. But it's just like they decided, well, classic canon, it's always they always say with diminishing returns with sequels, but they would decide, we'll just make the sequel for less money, despite the film doing extremely well. They knew the franchise was popular. Why not spend a bit more to give audiences more stuff? It's more crazy and elaborate.
It's such a strange approach the way they do it, isn't it? I mentioned just before we started recording that the sequel to Enter the Ninja, Revenge of the Ninja, was made for $700,000, and that was a sequel to the worldwide gross for Enter the Ninja must be north of $20 million easily.
Yeah,
and you think let's put a little bit of, instead of making it much cheaper than the first one, which was made too cheaply anyway. Around the same time, the Chuck Norris movie, The Octagon, was made for $4 million.
Whoa! And
it's like, this is a sequel to a smash hit. You want to put some investment in there, don't you?
Well, this was maybe the Canon Group's argument was that, or to sort of say, okay, we got to do this cheaper because we've lost money, because they're 86, you had the market crash, and most of their money was tied up in junk bonds, and they slashed budgets on pretty much most of the movies over 86 to 87. So, and they had 60 plus productions on the go, so no one was safe, were they? So, and they had 3 big movies in 87. Well, big movies in terms of them, so like Superman, Master Universe, and Over the Top. Where they famously paid Stallone like a ridiculous amount of money just to be in the movie, which weirdly is connected to this in some way, because the villain who we come across later, Gary Conway, had submitted Over the Top script.
He I think if he didn't conceive it, he wrote the original script as he did for this. I think they're the only 2 movies, apart from one of the later American Ninja sequels. So the only 2 movies he ever wrote. But there is something inherently canon about that, isn't there? Right? We've got Sylvester Stallone. We've got the biggest star in the world. We're paying him $20 million. We're going to give him a script written by the baddie from American Ninja 2, because that's the way we roll. It's just.
Well, the guy Gary Conway, wasn't it? He was like an actor, wasn't he? He'd been like Land before.
Land of the Giants.
Land of the Giants.
Land of the Giants. Yeah. And he was also he was the Frankenstein monster, and I was a teenage Frankenstein back in the 50s.
Oh my God.
He's done his time. It just looks so strange. I think these 2 in a beach buggy cruising down the.
I'm surprised Steve James doesn't become a ninja in this, does he? He doesn't wear the outfit. He'd always thought, because obviously he would become the part of like a duo. You know what I mean? But I suppose they keep Steve James as this kind of all-American hero, where it's sort of like just aping what Arnold was doing. Just a big muscly guy with guns.
Yeah, Dudikoff's the mysterious one, isn't he? And James is the more as this scene perfectly demonstrates. He was on his way to the embassy here. He was feeling a little uncomfortable because of how casual everyone is, and then he sees a bunch of girls in bikinis, and suddenly everything's fine. He's not worried anymore. He's just leering at women.
This one really feels more 80s than the first one because of this kind of outlandish colours it's got with like the vehicles and the outfits and
Exactly. And crucially, by this point, 1987 was a year or two after the peak of the ninja craze, and by this point, the image of the ninja movie wasn't being set by the Octagon and Enter the Ninja and those early American movies. It was now being set by the Godfrey Ho movies coming from Hong Kong, which were much more colourful, much more streamlined. And so this, as a result, I think this is a far better ninja movie. You know, it's got none of that romantic subplot nonsense that they used to try and add to American ones.
yeah.
It's just straight in there, you know, with a bit of basic story, but essentially just a bunch of scenes in which people fight ninjas.
Yeah, I mean, it's all like essentially a bunch of scenes which connect those fight scenes. You know, that's what people want.
Yeah.
And it's I mean, it is. They've literally kind of trimmed out some of the, you could say, people say the boring stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and they've got a white guy with a mustache in there as well, which is essential for every American-made ninja movie, and most of the Asian ones too. But like this character, Wild Bill, the commanding officer here, it wouldn't fit in the first movie at all, would he? But here he's not just perfect; he's one of the highlights.
He really is, because it is the stuff he has, the dialogue he has, is intentionally funny. You know, it's not like you're laughing at bad performance or
exactly
clunky dialogue. It's just really funny stuff.
He's a director now, this guy, Jeff Keelantaro, his name is, I believe. And he appeared in a bunch of B movies around this time. Now, he's in some Full Moon movies. He's in Puppet Master 2, I think is the only other thing I've seen him in. But he ended up directing, and he's got a movie out at the moment starring Dennis Quaid, I noticed.
Oh, wow. The Quaid.
Watch, by the way, at the end of this scene, I don't know if this is one of the most famous goofs in a canon movie. When
really
during the shooting of this scene, Michael Dudikoff was unwell. He had a stomach bug or something like that, and just had to leave. Couldn't stick around for the end of it. So at the end, when they walk out, Dudikoff is replaced by his stunt double, and
really?
It's basically a balls up. That the shot they used wasn't meant to be used. It just, nobody noticed when they were cutting it together that it wasn't Dudikoff in the shot. Amazing. But it is so obvious. And then they also swap places for the next shot. They're the other way round. So it's really sloppily done, this. Here, look at this guy here. Look at the guy.
Oh my God! And he looks at camera. It's amazing. Why? Oh God.
I actually recognise the guy as well. I don't know what his name is, but I recognise him from, he's in Space Mutiny, which was also made in South Africa around the same time. Oh. So he's presumably a local South African. I know a lot of the actors, including the guy going, Taylor, I think his name is, taken up the. No, sorry, not him. One of the other Marines is not an American, is a South African, and they had to dub him because he couldn't pull the accent off.
I love how the military's kind of important information has come from a child.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Let's believe this kid. You know what I mean? Even though the kid is providing vital information, as we find out. But, you know, you think you're like, get out of it, kid. You know what I mean? Talking out of your ass.
They wouldn't have been able to overcome this great ninja threat without that kid either. You know, as far as I can tell, he's the only one on this island who actually does anything.
Everyone's like continuously on holiday in this film.
Yeah. Now they're headed out water skiing. Which is another funny thing, actually. I'm not a water skiing expert, but I don't think it's one of those things that you have to travel miles to find a suitable spot to do it. I think, in my mind at least, you're in a boat, you're on water. They could probably water ski there. But for some reason, they drive so long that everyone falls asleep in the boat. Where are you going to water ski?
I've only got sunstroke, Rob. You know what I mean? Just sort of feel like a kid, really knackered. That guy's got a really long neck, isn't he? God, Jesus.
He's the South African guy. Nothing dodgy here whatsoever. We're just finding a good spot for the water skiing.
Everyone's all passed out now.
And they're still only like a few hundred yards from the shore.
Maybe they're like severely jet lagged, basically.
The fumes from his dodgy engine rigging kit. There we go. That's plot, that is.
Is this something you'd find in like a cheesy kind of 80s cop show, isn't it, really? The sort of the plot of it all.
I'm just going to steer my boat into the beach here, even though the motor's not running, so that's going to be completely pointless.
And also, he's got to show that he's kind of like nervous, but is constantly biting his fingernails.
Also, the whole... So, I mean, the idea here, I don't think we're spoiling anything, is that this evil scientist guy is kidnapping Marines in order to make super soldiers out of them. But we learn later that they replace... they go so far as replacing their muscles with steel, which is something I'd never noticed as a child watching this. They change it, and so it begs the question: why aren't they just stealing? Why aren't they just kidnapping random nobodies? Why?
Also, you can't replace people's muscle with steel.
Well, you can
have them move. Movies. You can, yeah, completely logical in a canon.
But I can't think of a more high-profile, problematic group of people to start kidnapping than embassy guarding Marines. You're going to attract attention.
You need to make use of the homeless population, I suppose.
Exactly. If you're
a lot cheaper and less risky.
If you're giving them steel muscles anyway, then they don't need to look like Steve James in the first place.
Well, it's what's interesting when you listen to the interview with Gary Conway. He said, I came up with the idea of an American Ninja before they even made the movie. Just like, right, okay, just like, and he was kind of more about the magical side, the spirit, the supernatural side of the ninja, and less fighting, with his kind of original concept for it. But as I think we discussed in the first commentary we like taking these military guys and then transforming them into super soldiers is very it's before Universal Soldier.
Yeah,
would take that sort of similar concept and have them essentially as kind of like kind of they awaken up their flesh again, don't they, to sort of keep them as like essentially zombies to control.
Yeah. It's although they don't really explain a lot of it in this movie, do they? Though it's just kind of there you go. That's the idea.
Yeah. I do think, though, visually, this film is kind of a little bit more dynamic than the first one. I think maybe because Sam Firstenberg's, has kind of, done that film. Now he's doing America, did Avenging Force. Now this, so you got maybe sort of a, it's just sort of becoming second nature to him, isn't it? This this sort of stuff, and
it's all. I mean, he never gets complicated, does he, with his setups or what have you? But there's an efficiency to the way he shoots action that I really, really enjoy. And I've just watched Enter the Ninja and Revenge of the Ninja back, and the difference between those two, the first one directed by Menachem Golan, the second one by Sam, the difference is night and day. That first film is a piece of crap, in my opinion. There's nothing about it, really.
Rob, it's got the best nunchucks sequence in it.
It has got the funniest nunchucks.
You thought you'd be more effective using a towel than nunchucks, wouldn't you?
I mean, that is extreme. I mean, the idea of casting Franco Nero and then dubbing him because he doesn't speak, because he can't do an American accent, and doubling him because he can't lift his leg is and strangely that original screenplay for Enter the Ninja, the first canon ninja movie that ended up starring Franco Nero, that was written by Mike Stone, who plays the villain in this movie.
That's right.
And in fact, I think actually might have just thrown that spear. And he was originally set to star until Golan, decided he wanted Franco Nero instead.
Because Franco Nero was kind of a more recognisable name, wasn't he? Because he'd done so many movies at that point.
Exactly. It was. I think it was.
Was that a film market, wasn't it, or something like that, or like a Cannes?
Well, there are two theories about that. Yeah. So Golan says that he was at Cannes and saw Nero and approached him and said, do you want to replace him? This would have been like January of 1981 when they were just setting up to film. But Mike Stone himself says that Nero already had a 3-film contract with Cannon, and he was basically led down the garden path,
Right.
but didn't want to star in it anyway. So he claims he was actually quite happy to be paid in the end a lot more to be the fight choreographer and stunt double.
Right. Because Avenging Force was also another sort of script that was offered to Chuck Norris, like American Ninja. And he turned Avenging Force down. I've not seen Avenging Force. It's supposed to be a pretty good film.
It's really good, yeah. It's really good. In a way, it might be Sam Furstenberg's best film.
Well, I think he openly admitted that he felt Avenging Force was better than American Ninja. I know 88 Films had put that out as well on Blu-ray, and I thought, oh, should I get that? I just completely forgot about it, I'll have to grab it next time I'm in town.
That's a great movie. And Chuck Norris would have been good in that, actually. It would have suited him.
I love when Steve James kind of completely overacts the martial arts
great,
kind of stuff, doesn't it? The thing is, right, it's an 18 rated movie when it came out. I think it still has that rating. Maybe it's been reclassified to a 15. I don't know. So they resubmitted it. But you've got an 18 rated movie, so it's aimed at adults, but you've got a plot which is so kind of like out of a kid's cartoon.
Yeah.
It'd be like something like Ninja Turtles. Shredder's going to make all these like super soldiers, like improved foot soldiers, or whatever, or like there's something out of that, and it's like a comic book, and that sort of fits with Sam's kind of direction, where he doesn't take these movies seriously. They are very much tongue in cheek.
Yeah. I mean, you'd only have to make, if you were to release this now, a couple of minor cuts that you probably wouldn't notice, and it'd be a PG-13 in the States.
Definitely, because I don't think there's no nudity. I don't think there's any swearing in it to a large degree. I don't think
nothing that's important. But that's the thing. It worked differently in the 80s, didn't it? Because nowadays it's incredibly important for that to get that PG-13 credit if you can, or whatever it is, keep it away from X basically. But in the 80s it was almost a badge of achievement or something. You kind of, filmmakers wanted the higher rating sometimes.
Well, especially with that manga entertainment.
Yeah.
They really wanted to get a 15 or 18 rating, so they just threw in loads of swearing as much as they could, or get away with, to make it say this isn't for kids, even though you could theoretically just redub it and it wouldn't be as violent. But also, particular films they'd chosen may have like loads of kind of like gore in it, or perhaps sex, so they obviously couldn't try and get around that. But
Gore and sex at the same time usually.
Yeah. Also, I think I may have mentioned this in the last commentary, but yeah, this is like Steve James famously couldn't swim, and Stuntman couldn't swim, so Steve had to just jump himself, and
you'd never notice the edit, would you?
God,
it's seamless.
Jesus, yeah. You break your ankles doing that.
On the first film, famously, they didn't have a double. And look at his eye here, by the way. This eye makeup changes completely. It's barely visible there, that eye scar. No, but on the first film, they famously didn't have a double for Steve James because they just couldn't find a black guy that size in the Philippines. Yeah. On this movie, obviously, they shot in South Africa. They had choices, but no one could swim apparently. So you had a couple of stuntmen, but neither of them could swim either.
That's amazing, isn't it? This is the best bit coming up, isn't it? Where you're just like, these ninjas are getting on my tits, or something like that. It's so silly. I love it.
He's great later in that party scene as well. This guy.
Oh, he's amazing, isn't he? Yeah. Russian ninjas, that's what you want. Shit.
This is when was Top Gun 1986?
86, yeah.
86. I'm wondering.
I think it may. Well, it was 86, but then it got like sort of delayed releases. So UK got parts of it in 87, I think.
He's really reminding me of Val Kilmer in Top Gun.
Well, everyone's got to have sort of the Guile haircut. You know what I mean?
It was a thing at the time,
everything
wasn't
sticks
it?
up, you know.
Yeah, blonde hair, similar face shape. Yeah.
Oh, this guy here, this older guy, he's brilliant, isn't he? He just hams it up.
I've forgotten his name. Martin Balsam, I think it is, isn't it? Is that no? It just look. Oh, I can't remember now.
He just like chews all his dialogue. It's like it's being delivered to him. He's like nom, 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 just munching it as he talks.
It's exactly the same character as the guy in the first movie. He's also the assistant to the CEO, and he's also a weirdly sort of old fat guy who doesn't look like anyone else.
Now, obviously, because obviously Steve James and I think a lot of the production crew were kind of concerned about the apartheid sort of thing going on in South Africa. I think Sam Firstenberg said it was kind of coming to an end. I know there's a lot of conflict going on with other countries not willing to do business with South Africa, and obviously there were for the citizens there ID cards, weren't there, for whites, blacks, and coloured, but tourists didn't come under those rules and regulations. So because Sam went ahead, I think, to sort of check things out, and then because Steve James was obviously very concerned, but when he got there, everyone knew who he was because American Ninja had become very, very popular. So he was a superstar to them. So, but also another issue was like trying to get money, and I think Avi Lerner, because you were saying before we started recording that this was a co-production where we couldn't see the other production company's name attached to this.
Yeah,
Avi Lerner had tried to he found a tax loophole where basically they can get additional funding and get support if people invest.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and this was the same system. I made a documentary on space mutiny, and got quite into the the fun of the anti-apartheid. It was essentially an apartheid-based tax system. No one was coming to, South Africa was being shunned by the rest of the world, certainly the Western world.
Yeah.
So they figured, why don't we try and attract people here to shoot movies with a tax system that will be very favourable? And it worked to a degree, but it, like you say, there are still sort of more existential problems, and I know that some of the actors, especially Michael Dudikoff, were very uncomfortable afterwards because they felt that they were criticised or they were shunned themselves somewhat back in Hollywood as a result of having kind of broken this sort of apartheid embargo. And Dudikoff says that's the reason he didn't make the third one, because he didn't want to go back to South Africa after the experience he had after filming this. Yeah,
yeah. There's also, because obviously it still became a point of discussion, even as a plot point of Lethal Weapon 2, wasn't it? And that's in '89, so things are still kind of going on.
Yeah.
And also with the great line, diplomatic immunity, because you can't touch
Diplomatic immunity.
Oh, this is a good fight scene. There's always some good stuff in this. Soft focus there again. Classic Canon. Someone's a bit too drunk on the day. It's the heat, man. It's the heat.
That's obviously also why Dudikoff's wearing boots that almost reach his knees and double denim. That must have been unbearable in that kind of heat.
Man, yeah. And he's health and safety as well. Turns up on a Kawasaki motorbike, not wearing any protective gear.
Rides up onto the pavement.
Yeah.
I grew up in a motorcycling family, and it used to really annoy me when he rode that bike, because I watched this a lot as a kid. Him just parking on the pavement used to really annoy me. That gives bikers a bad name. Actually, I'm thinking of Roadhouse, but that's 2 years later. It's kind of very sort of, you see a bar fight, in a movie. Yeah.
Roadhouse does it well because it's lit.
Exactly. It looks like a bar, and it looks like a real. It doesn't look like it's just been sort of glued together with 2x4s.
MDF'd a lot of it,
Yeah.
It's like changing rooms.
So another plot problem here as well. This guy is... I've never understood whether he's luring Armstrong here to be kidnapped, or whether... Because he doesn't seem like... It seems like he wants to come clean here, and he seems surprised that these guys have come in. But it's like, if you want to have a secret meeting about the dodgy people who are paying. Don't do it in their bar. Do it somewhere else.
Right, okay, we've got all the stuntmen. Line them up.
Including
right,
Kane Hodder.
Yes!
Kane Hodder on the right at the back there.
My God.
I think pre-Friday, obviously not pre-Friday the 13th, but I think pre-his Friday the 13th appearances.
Love the flying kick here. Come on, do it.
Yeah.
It. It's building up to it. Look at the bed. It's like a girl's bed. What's it?
It's a brothel, isn't it? I think, basically.
Oh, yes, right. Okay, yeah, because it seems very...
Yes!
That was great. It's just like, there's the bare minimum, again, of like set dressing.
Yeah.
You can always tell. I think that guy got pulled back with a wire, didn't he, when he got kicked?
You see him look backwards first, as if he's like trying to make sure he's square with the door and not going to get pounded into the frame or something.
I imagine they literally had like, for dialogue scenes you probably get 2 or 3 takes, but for an action scene where something's got to be destroyed, you're going to get one go. That's it. Because we're not building that again, you know.
That's why the stunt directors are so important in these films. It normally wouldn't necessarily think about who the stunt coordinator was on a movie, on an action movie, but Sam Furstenberg especially worked very, very closely with them. And it's Steve Lambert's the guy who did most of these movies, but this one is B.J. Davis, his name is.
That's right, yeah.
They do a hell of a good job, though, those stunt coordinators.
They do have some good stunts in this as well. More like really like scary stuff. I think someone's going to die here. You know, when he's getting chased. There's a bike sequence, isn't there? I think later on.
Yeah.
Which is like pretty hairy, you know.
Just makes me smile every time we cut to this guy. with his windsurfing picture. Normally it's like pictures of the president and stuff, isn't it? And like platoons of troops being awarded medals or something, but it's just nothing but windsurfing.
Well, sir, we think Taylor is being blackmailed. How do you know that? Because he told me. His wife was kidnapped and taken to Blackbeard Island. He was probably afraid that she would be killed.
Blackbeard Island, is that what we said? Yeah.
He's completely innocent, this guy, isn't he? He's definitely not involved.
Because essentially we're dealing with a villain who's basically like a James Bond villain, isn't it? He's on an island, you know, like you can't get there without, you know, prior permission.
And he doesn't. You don't see much of him as well. You see Mike Stone occasionally as the ninja, but the actual Gary Conway's character, what's his name, the lion or something.
Yes,
you don't really see. You know, you kind of get a scene introducing him in a social situation where he can't do what he wants to do to the villain, and then you meet, and then there's a big bit of him later on, and that's exactly what they used to do with Bond villains, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Leo Burke. He's called Leo the Lion Burke. You know.
I don't like that tiny maggot. I don't like him at all. I mean, what is this? Ninjas, drug pushers, my men being kidnapped and murdered? This is really beginning to get on my tits.
That's it. Yeah, that's the bit where he says, "Ninjas becoming drug pushers." This is really getting on my tits. Yeah, that's the best bit.
Man, he should have been in more movies playing this guy. He should have just been in more movies, full stop.
Oh, definitely, just playing the same character.
He's really good in Puppet Master 2 as well.
There isn't a bit coming up here where Steve James's girlfriend at the time, I think she has a cameo, the lady he's introduced to. Oh, that he sort of flirts with her, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, she's... I don't know whether... I've read conflicting stories about whether he met her on this shoot or whether he met her...
I think
he knew her previously and got her this small role. I think maybe on the set of Delta Force. I think I've read somewhere he might have met her. But yeah, their daughter has been in a few movies as well since.
Well, she's pretty much sort of continued the sort of legacy of Steve James with most of the interviews, isn't it? About him, it often involves her.
Yeah,
talking about his career. God, those wearing those outfits as well. God, he's so hot.
Whenever there's a scene like this, you know that when you check out the goofs section on the IMDb, if there's ever been a scene where military people wear dress uniforms, you know that most of the goofs is just going to be the same guy going through saying, this medal was here and it should have been here, and the lapel was down when it should have been up. And
that sort of goof trivia is always just like kind of pointless. I think,
is that a goof, or did no one cared? And why should they?
Yeah, any small faction people care. I think if you're dealing with a movie that is kind of like, say you're making Full Metal Jacket or something of that nature, then I think being on point is very key. But this is just like, essentially a comic book movie.
Yeah,
The funny thing is, like, that always baffles me with this, because they're making a film appeal to adults, which clearly kids will love, and kids did love it. The whole ninja thing was always just like, kids are obsessed with it. I mean, like, in America, I think it was far more easier to get hold of these films, because you can still go to the cinema with your parents and see an R-rated movie, right?
Yeah,
that was the rule. But over here, no way could you do that.
And also, they were actually on. They were actually being screened. I don't know what it was like where you grew up, but I grew up in suburban Hampshire, and there was a multiplex 10 miles away, and there were a couple of other cinemas within range, but they'd never have shown films like this. This would never have been on at a cinema near where I lived.
No, I don't. Maybe if we try to find the paper listings back then, I mean, I would think more London would have got a bigger play of these.
Yeah,
because you had more of these kind of cinemas around, independent ones.
You had to be somewhere like that to have access to this kind of thing.
If you had a Canon cinema, Rob, it would have played it.
That's a good point, actually. Yeah, that period when they owned all the cinemas, I'm sure it would have been playing. I don't know, we've never been very good at that in this country, to my mind. I remember talking to someone about this when I worked in Post. There was, I can't remember the film now, but all the big companies have deals basically saying, unless you show the new Star Wars for 12 weeks, you won't get the next Star Wars. And that means if after the 6 weeks the cinemas are now empty, you've got to keep showing it. You can't put on the little independent film or the foreign film or whatever that you might want to show.
God. So they brokered their deals to get their, sort of money up front.
Mm.
Gary Conway weirdly looks like Adam West, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does, doesn't he? Yeah.
Adam West haircut. It
also reminds me of Max Mosley, the former head of the FIA.
That's very specific.
It's going to be a very niche one, I think, but he's the spitting image. I don't know why Mike Stone wasn't a bigger star. He's not an actor as such, but I don't know, you dub him, you don't even notice he's being dubbed.
Yeah,
and he looks he really just looks great doing his ninja stuff, doing his karate stuff, and
he really nails the look of a bad guy, doesn't he?
And he's got real
classic way.
He's got some screen charisma as well. He's apparently a very charismatic guy too. Did you know he was the henchman in this movie was responsible for stealing Elvis Presley's wife?
Yeah, you'd mentioned that in the previous commentary. Yeah, it was kind of crazy, isn't it? That because he was a trainer, wasn't he?
Yeah.
For Elvis.
I'd really have tried to shoot that car from the other side. I always find it so distracting that bit of trim's been broken off the door on that side of the car.
This is I think it's basically the same street they filmed earlier, just kind of reusing, same location.
Well, yeah, they're headed to the same place essentially, aren't they? The same bar.
Oh, I see. Okay. Oh, yes, right. Yeah, sorry, my mistake.
The only other location in this movie.
Yeah, the Blind Beggars Club or something. The Bikers Alley. Wait, what? A little bit of a sticky electric window then.
Yeah, no one's too worried about that then.
No one's banging on it. It's just common stuff they see every day, isn't it? We've being kidnapped and thrown into this building. Oh, doesn't? Oh my god! Doesn't like Steve James go full Hulk? He's like whole like jacket just rips off.
Yeah, he does do it. Is that? I can't remember if that's now or later. He's also got a great little sequence of fights right at the end where he's really having fun, quite clearly.
He really kind of apes Bruce Lee, doesn't he, with the sort of noises and poses he does later on. Yeah, we got our asses handed to us last time, but yeah, we feel confident we can do it again. We know we can beat up these guys.
I don't know why, but this is just pure comedy, this scene. There's so many pratfalls and silly jokes and stuff, like deliberate comedy as well. It's just...
It's like he's got a giant pepper grinder or something.
Do you like Parmesan too?
No, that was great. Oh, this is like it's like Steve James is like superhuman in this. You see, you don't need to make super ninjas. You just need Steve James.
Damn straight.
We need 12 Steve James, please.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Bundle.
Well, there's at least 8 people there.
And they throw in like the bowling pin sound effect as well. Oh god. Oh, that's the slowest kick ever delivered. Oh, that's a good stunt.
It's so that whole everything in that about that wooden balustrade and everything is so flimsy. I'm constantly expecting people to fall through it accidentally.
But like Dudikoff has been, you know, sort of common trivia that he wasn't a martial artist, but he really sells it again in this one.
Yeah, he'd done a lot. I think it's a lot like David Carradine in between the first and second seasons of Kung Fu. He basically thought, shit, maybe I should learn some of this martial arts stuff.
Yeah, because he was a bit clunky, wasn't he, in the first one? Didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah, and this it's better. It's still, I think you can still tell he's not a martial artist, but. That's great.
His psychotic laugh. Oh, that was good. Oh, that's a really painful stunt in this. God.
Because that table they just fell on didn't look like a normal breakaway table either. It looked like it.
No.
Nothing actually. You know, it's the joints that broke, not the.
You can see the guy wince when he fell on it. God.
Like, this is pure silliness. This could be in a Mel Brooks movie.
Oh, definitely. This is like Blazing Saddles too. But no, Furstenberg's done a good job of actually trying to sort of, you know, replicate those kind of Western, you know, punch-ups in a bar, you know, and it's just the music's a bit too wacky at the moment.
I mean, they did. Cannon always struggled hitting that tone, didn't they? Though when they did the comedy bits, it's almost it's an extent. I mean, at the end of the day, it's what we forget is people like Menachem Golan and Sam Furstenberg aren't American, or you know, they didn't grow up in this watching Western movies, you know, exclusively, or American movies exclusively. They grew up in Israel watching largely Hebrew movies. So adapting to, you know, to come to America and make American movies for American audiences is a famously difficult thing. For every Paul Verhoeven, there's a Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah.
You know, it's not surprising that sometimes the gags don't quite land.
You were saying earlier about Mike Stone. Now they've got his eye makeup, haven't they, on his left eye? It wasn't there when we saw it earlier.
There was a tiny little mark, tiny little scar, like by his eye. But yeah, at times it's almost completely closed over. They're like high school kids running away from a prank.
It is, yeah. So it's just like Grange Hill here. What's going on?
He was almost finished with movies at this point, Mike Stone. He made he made an action about the same time. It was the only one his only ever sort of like lead role in an action movie, which he made actually for a guy called Emmett Alston, who was the original director of Enter the Ninja before Menachem Golan replaced him.
Oh, interesting.
Allegedly replaced him, according to Golan anyway, replaced him because he wasn't happy with the dailies.
Yeah, that's it.
But I think the more likely scenario is he was slated to direct Death Wish 2, and then after a meeting with Charles Bronson said, if that man directs Death Wish 2, I won't be in it. So he suddenly had a gap in his schedule and wanted something to direct, and I think maybe took this over because Emmett Alston. He went on to make a ninja movie with Sho Kosugi, actually, called 9 Deaths of the Ninja, which is absolutely insane. It's really good and bad.
So Menachem really kind of made a fumble there and not kept him on then?
I think so, generally. If Enter the Ninja had been made by Emma Alston and with Mike Stone in the lead, it could only have been a better movie. Because Golan had this thing about trying to appeal to everyone. The love story, the love triangle. It's a silly ninja movie, and you've got this love triangle involving an impotent alcoholic, and this isn't fun action stuff. This is
no. Also, that he cheats on his mates. On his mate with his wife. It's just bad. It's like you don't want to have that as a sort of theme of the movie, or.
And then they hang the whole last act on it as well by having her kidnapped. So he's acting to get his beloved back rather than.
Yeah, that was a great comedy gag though. When they turned up in the car, it's all battered. You know what I mean? It's just like that's a great little sequence.
Steve James gets his number. Michael Dudikoff gets out safely.
Yes, he goes. Oh, yeah, just a little bit of the camera crew there in the window. Can't hide it in these cheap budget movies.
Fights like a tiger. We'll have to get rid of him.
If the inspector can't do the job, I know what to do. We'll use the lamb to catch the tiger.
Obviously, with Gary Conway's script, he had written this, but obviously it would end up being rewritten or sort of fine-tuned by James Booth, who had written Avenging Force, I think.
Yeah.
So a British actor, I think about 6 or 7 screenplays.
Oh, he's British, is he?
Yeah.
I didn't realise.
He's in loads of things like British shows like Minder and things like that. Kind of weird that he'd just like end up rewriting American Ninja 2. It's kind of, who I suppose, isn't it? That sort of industry.
Yeah,
where someone's gone.
I mean, he was part of the crew that just, like you say, came straight over from Avenging Force.
Mm.
Yeah, Avenging Force and Riverbend is another one. I can't remember now if Sam Firstenberg directed that or not, but from this same sort of crew and same sort of vibe as this movie, and they're both great.
The sound mix, really, when it cuts this scene with the kid, you hear like a rooster just like in my ear. It's like, wait a minute, that's supposed to imply that it's like the crack of dawn, isn't it? When the chickens wake up. What? Why put that in?
Everyone around him's wearing like Hawaiian shirts and he's in a leather jacket.
$3. That's all we need.
I wonder what happened to that kid. Do you know if he went on to do anything? Or?
No, I don't know actually. What's his character's name again? I've forgotten.
Oh, is it Toto or something?
The kid. Oh, yeah, Toto. Yeah, Elmo Phyllis. No, he's in 3 things: Young Survivors and Danger Coast. So 2 things in the 90s, and that was it. Yay, ninjas again. God, it's like a video game now.
God, actually, I found myself wondering if Mike Stone did appear in it. I'm so used to seeing Mike Stone doubling for ninjas that I could swear the ninja who jumped down then had his exact physique. And sorry, not Mike Stone. The
The stuntman.
The stuntman, yeah.
Was it B.J. Davis?
No, the other one, the one who isn't in this,
Oh, the first one. It was in the first movie.
the one whose name I can never remember.
Dudikoff did the role then. I wouldn't have done that. I would have got a stuntman for that.
Yeah, well, that's a
So
hard
roly
floor.
poly. What this is missing, it does have a ninja training camp near the end, but again, there's a lack of swings and
Yeah.
uh,
Training
other things like
devices.
trade devices. No space hoppers, I'm afraid.
There are some really,
Oh.
really nicely conceived and edited little sequences in this movie.
There really is, yeah.
Dudikoff just looking dead cool catching that thing.
When he threw the shuriken, he sold it well.
Yeah,
He looked cool throwing it.
yeah.
So that means it happened.
That's a very flammable ninja.
These ninjas again in broad daylight. Why did they? There's no. I don't think. Is there any nighttime sequences other than that when he attempts to get on the island? There's a little bit. Well, they again try to throw in a sort of connection, don't they? With because the lion's obviously got her father, sort of under his control. She wants to get on the island, needs help, and there's a connection between her and Dudikoff's character, but it doesn't really develop into anything.
No, yeah, they're not going to waste time on a.
Wait, the location are completely different then? It's weird, isn't it?
I get the feeling that this is all daytime because it's just easier, isn't it? You can't. You've got to pay people more at night as well.
Ninjas in broad daylight.
Oh, he's so evil.
We don't get like the palette swap kind of like ninjas do. One's in yellow, one's in blue.
Yeah, sadly.
It's like Mortal Kombat, just like recycling ninjas.
I'm Joe Armstrong.
I'm Alicia Sanborn. What do you want from me?
I need to get to Blackbeard Island.
Then turn around.
Michael Dudikoff and his driving acting. No one ever just holds their hand on the wheel, do they? It's always seesawing back and forth.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. It's like watching the Bond films, isn't it? Where he's got like a... Because they did like rear projection didn't they?
going on, yeah.
And then Bond's like going on a straight road and he's like driving like a madman. He's like a drunk. You know?
Oh, go on.
Oh, that is a great stunt. No.
There's a cracker in Revenge of the Ninja that Sam directed, actually, where the guy's on top of a van. The ninja's on top of the van, and he like grabs hold of the top of the windscreen and swings around
That's
and comes
right.
through the windscreen feet first. That is a
That's
fantastic
amazing.
stunt.
See, like you got the action scenes, which are so well edited in this movie. It really gives it visual flair,
Yeah.
just energy, and they leave in a major goof with the stuntman walking out of a room. God,
And this is pretty goofy as well, because
It's dragged along.
he's being dragged along like crazy. Obviously, this will have torn any kind of fabric, even ninja fabric, to shreds. And you can see here that it is torn to shreds in places. And then once he's back on the car, that costume's
His
going to be
legs
perfect
are all
again.
cut up. Christ.
Yeah, it's a real person all the time, I think.
It's mad.
And there's never a big board underneath him. It can only ever be things like attached to him, I think, like pads and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh. Don't they run him over? No, he's like the Terminator, isn't he?
And his knees are back again. His knees are fine.
Oh,
now.
yeah, he's yep. He respawned.
God, I wouldn't have wanted to do any of this stuff with South African safety standards and a guy working for Canon calling the shots.
Oh, when she jumped out of the car, she got a major whack there on the floor. God. Oh,
Yes.
that's amazing. Oh, such a good stunt. Look at that, oh, more explosions. That's what you want. So that makes sense, right? When you have a building explode, and then other stuff around it explode as well, because it's a petrol station.
Yeah.
But when you have like a building where someone's put a bomb and it blows up, and then suddenly, randomly, other buildings surrounding it explode. Like, wait a minute, how do they go off in flames?
And all it does is knock the hero down.
It's a slight scratch. It's fine. Hans Island.
There it is. We can't go till dark because it'll look suspicious if we take a boat out into this waterway full of boats.
Okay then. We got some like cheesy sort of synth music coming in. Softer little moment coming up.
Gonna have to do something to establish a connection between those two. We can't just pretend that he cares about her for the last act. See, it is, as you said earlier, it really is a simplified, streamlined version of the first film, isn't it? Aside from the fact that the MacGuffins and the plot is
they're not buying weapons, are they? They're buying people, who are weapons.
But you've got the same deal with the local authorities are involved in it, and they're coordinating with someone who is the American military, that Taylor guy or whatever, and they've got the daughter of a good guy embroiled in it all, and him having to go kind of on the run to save her and help her. Joe gets blamed for everything as well, doesn't he, in both of them?
Of course.
Police are trying to nail him here.
But it's like you've got the British guy there that I presume these are sort of like other diplomats or the people that are kind of invested. Like the Conservatives or Margaret Thatcher need some super ninjas to deal with these constant protests, maybe. These bloody coal miners keep going on strike. We need some ninjas to deal with them.
That's a dangerous joke to make in the current political climate. I think it could easily be the next bright move from our Lord and Master in this country.
Bring me some ninjas, quick. Do some ninja protests.
If Rishi Sunak's wife secretly owns a company training ninjas, I think we can be fairly certain that they're about to be employed as a replacement for our police force or something.
Wish we to get through to Michael Dudikoff ASAP.
There we go. That's 2 or 3 minutes of our time and probably a couple of hours of theirs. That's enough now.
It's just exposition dump, innit? That's all you need. It's not dark enough yet, mate. You can still be seen from a mile off. There's a lot of scenes of people putting a phone down. They've just been on the phone. You don't know what they've said.
Here's some information. What they should have done when they launched their assault on the island is do it on windsurfers.
Oh my god.
Can you imagine?
That was so good. It's been the most ludicrous thing you'd ever see, but it'd just be like cinematic gold.
And because it's Canon, there'd have been like whichever boards they could have hired locally cheaply, which means they'd have all looked different and had some of them would have been advertising local coffee shops, and just some of them would have been bright pink.
Local curry place.
A load of Marines assaulting an island.
You got Steve James with like armbands trying to swim.
Now, Steve James would have to go ahead in some kind of different landing vehicle, all of his own, just so he can stand at the front of it, bare chested, waving a gun in the air and shouting.
It's a classic Western thing where they see something that's kind of interesting and then just spin it into something completely absurd. You know what I mean? It has nothing to do with the original concept of what ninjas are.
I love the costumes that they went with for ninjas in the 80s as well, because there wasn't all there really was for ninja costumes was black pajamas when the 80s began.
Yes.
But for some reason, I think mainly obviously you have to be able to distinguish between two people when they're fighting, and you have to be able to distinguish more important ninjas, less important. Some of the costumes they developed for them, like the one Mike Stone's wearing now, were just utterly ridiculous. They make no sense at all. I mean, at least
extra padding, doesn't
yeah,
it? Like, different
really,
colours.
it's going to stop you moving. It's not going to afford any kind of protection and so on. But it's the bright pink ones are my favourites. There's a recurring character in the Godfrey Ho Hong Kong movies called the Purple Warrior.
Oh right, yes.
Which, I mean, I grew up reading Viz, so a Purple Warrior is not a ninja in my mind. It's a euphemism. And it doesn't help that he's called Gordon. So it's
Gordon.
Sometimes he gets his full name, which is Purple Ninja Warrior Gordon. It's like, where does this come from? This has got nothing to do with Japanese stealth.
This has also got like some weird show. They're going for the gold medal here.
It's a fantastic location, though, that isn't it? Where they find for the final fight.
Do you think it's like a gym or something? They've like set dress because the final thing is like it feels like a school. You know what I mean? What a shooting location.
There's that huge arena, which is an auction house for cattle, I believe.
Yeah, okay, that makes perfect sense. Yeah,
but then, like you say, when they're running around behind the scenes of it looks very much like a school. And
it does.
I'd always assumed it was two different locations, but now I mention it, the brickwork visible in the background here, that band of brickwork underneath the red, looks very similar to the brickwork in all the corridors and so on they're in later. So I'm wondering if it's behind the scenes of the auction place.
Could be. I love how we later on when he has his little moment where he sort of has his like Jedi moment where he sits on these stairs going up. They're very sort of like, I would have shoot on those stairs to have him meditate.
Yes,
that's a really boring location. You know what I mean?
It's also like surely you'd want to go somewhere quiet for that as well, but he just sits down in the middle of a stairwell immediately after kicking off a load of mayhem too. So you'd think that the hundreds of all these ninjas that live here would be pelting up and down those stairs.
Yeah. I don't know. It just clearly just down to sort of we're in a rush. We've got to get this done. Just film it on those stairs quickly.
Yeah. And that was Sam Furstenberg does have a bit of a history for that kind of thing as well. It's, okay, there's light here and there's a floor to stand on. We can have a scene.
We've got 4 walls. We're done. I love how it's heavily guarded. Who are trying to break in? That's the thing. Because they've got the police on their side. Who was trying to break in?
Yeah.
Why is wasting money on security when no one actually knows what's going on there? So the security's only there for Dudikoff. Oh, I love this. This is such a Batman gadget in it, sort of thing.
God, yeah. Somehow I've not noticed this bit the last couple of times I've watched it, but God, I remember it from childhood. That device, yeah.
It's so cool. Dudikoff utility belt.
It's not very ninja, though, is it? A ninja should have just somersaulted over that fence.
Oh, definitely.
I suppose he's got to get her in as well for
It's
absolutely no reason. He needs her tagging along.
It's just his military side kicking in, isn't it?
Cool, yeah. He has been a soldier for at least 2 years now, that's right.
Because he is such a different character, isn't he? Because he's so against he's kind of, he didn't show much support for the military side, did he, in the first one?
Yeah, no,
He just seemed reluctant hero, and in this he's like, just completely switcheroo on him.
Exactly. I mean, his character in the first movie is the one who doesn't take the army seriously. And his character in this movie, certainly in the context of the Marines, is the character who does take the military seriously. And the whole strong silent type's been dialed right back as well.
He's become the all-American hero, isn't he?
Yeah, well, I think that initially, I think Menachem Golan was just so obsessed with the idea he looked a bit like James Dean that he wanted him to be James Dean. And you can tell they're still doing it up to a point, having him in, jeans all the time, jeans and leather jacket and the white, and, it's...
Yeah.
This is another common scene in ninja movies, the part of the ninjas' training where, in order to help them get better, they're all murdered.
Yeah. Because these are the super ninjas they've created, right?
Presumably, yeah.
They're not particularly good, are they?
No, well,
They get
this
their
is
asses handed to them.
this is the thing, isn't it? This is meant to be a demonstration of how powerful the super ninjas are. So the only normal ninja kills them all.
It was like Universal Soldier, but like, we've created 12 Dolph Lundgrens, and they're all useless. It's like, against one Van Damme. An army of Dolph Lundgrens, that'd be good.
What is this scene for? Why is this happening? Other than obviously just to put a bit of ninja action in. I'm not complaining on those grounds.
It's supposed to be isn't it like a sales pitch?
Yeah, it's
like
so they're either trying to sell these ninjas or they're trying to train these ninjas. That's the only reason for any of this to happen.
And he's basically shown you, we don't need to artificially create these super ninjas. We just got one dude who can do all of it. That was amazing when he threw the sword under his legs. That was good. Oh, Mike Stone's fucking brilliant.
Guy's got skills, man.
Yeah,
Guy's got skills.
He really sells it.
He's the one who, out of that sort of generation of karate stars, Chuck Norris obviously being the most famous, Mike Stone's the one. Like Joe Lewis ended up in a bunch of movies, and he's absolutely rubbish. He's unbearable. He's so dull. But Mike Stone never really got his go of it.
It's a shame, isn't it?
But
Maybe politics behind the scenes, we don't know.
Could be. I think he left the industry in the 80s, and he's just been living quietly in, I can't remember if it's Thailand or the Philippines, somewhere in Southeast Asia.
I love how Steve James has been confined into a small room with the other guys. He hasn't been able to let loose.
The tension's building. He's going to let go of it soon.
I need to punch someone, man.
Is this the one where he does the he's laid someone out and they start to get up and he just says, "Don't bother," or "Get," or "Stay there," or something, and they do.
Yeah. He does it, yeah. I don't think they have any female ninjas apart from her. Someone looks at that ninja and goes, "You've got wonderful eyes."
And why are they?
Wait a minute.
They join this tour as well, don't they? And this like tour of really important people wandering about, and then there's two random ninjas amongst them.
I always love it when you see in movies that generally have a lower budget and they kind of like this kind of this laboratory, and all they've got is just like this vials of like different colours of liquid. You got some gas canisters there for oxygen or something. It's always bare bones in it. Got a couple of like, I don't know, ZX Spectrums powering things. Ooh. Look at this stuff. This is state of the art. State of the art.
They were so proud of those ones, they got a close up.
I better just put in Tizer for that liquid. Got some Tizer.
They're not even like hanging back to.
No. I love to get these kind of like old British actors to sort of deliver this dialogue, which they probably had no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Ninjas? What is all this? You know?
I think it's I've always theorised it's got something to do with Alec Guinness in Star Wars. It seems like after that, suddenly, it was particularly in sci-fi movies, an old English stage actor was deemed like an essential.
Yes. This is, give it a bit of class. You know, I love how these dudes are all frozen. You got to have a mullet as well.
Yes.
You know, a super soldier.
I was thinking that earlier. There are a lot of curly mullets in this film.
These ninjas also got to be fashionable.
Oh dear, it's as a proper old school plot. This in its own way, isn't it? The whole idea of the scientist with the scientist has been forced to do something, and it's really only the threat to his daughter that's making him do it. That was half the 1950s sci-fi movies, half the Godzilla movies.
And just like general cop shows of the 70s. This again feels very 70s, I think, with its plot. It's like, it's something, you know, did you ever see this live action Spider-Man TV show? It's just like that, a plot from that. You know what I mean?
You're right, yeah.
We're going to be making like copies of Spider-Man and make him like, use him as a weapon or something, you know. It could easily fit within that TV show. The old man's reaction when he got punched. Ooh!
That was a bit like,
Oh, you bastard!
Why did he punch him?
I don't know. He gave that sort of like trapped wind look, you know. She looks like what's the lady who's in like The Abyss and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves?
Oh yeah, yes.
I can't remember. Very long surname. I can never
Mary
pronounce
Elizabeth
correctly.
Mastrantonio. Is
Tony?
that it?
Yes. She does look a bit like her.
It's that 1987 late 80s haircut as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's explosion of hair.
Yes.
There we go. He's going.
I can't think of anywhere better to have a quick meditate.
Yep, on the stairs.
Quick flag. Got to remind everyone that I am actually a ninja.
Yep. Use the force, dude.
Yeah.
That kid looks like a young Joe Cornish. It's weird.
Yes. Does not look like a young Michael Dudikoff, though.
No, before Adam and Joe, he was in American Ninja 2. I don't think because obviously they just grab like some of the footage on the first one and cobbled it in. It just always looks a bit rough, doesn't it? You know, never looks pristine. Just grab like into positive or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just thrown it in. Looks a bit scuffed as well. He's mangled up his fingers.
Ninja fingers. Now, normally that explosion happens either when they arrive or when they transform into their ninja costumes.
Exactly.
I think that's the only time I've ever seen a ninja flashbang that doesn't actually herald anything. It's just a ninja flashbang.
The end of his flashback.
I suppose.
Yeah,
heralds
that was
him
it.
deciding to stand up.
He just lit his own fart.
There'll be no shooting unless we're shot at first. Now you know what to do. Let's move out. Okay.
Yeah, you stay behind, Martin Balsam. You're too fat and grumpy.
I love the music here has kicked in with this kind of Casio keyboard action score.
Here come the cavalry.
Oh my god. He's only a red belt. Oh, that's quite low in the ninja standard, isn't it? It should be a black belt, surely. We need some sort of like doubles of ninjas where there's like somewhere overweight. I think that guy looks a bit too.
Yeah, he's too
chunky.
short. The one on the right's too short.
Yeah.
He's too short to be a stormtrooper.
Should be job requirements, shouldn't there? For being a ninja, you've got to be this tall.
You'd think, well,
It's
at
in
least
shape.
use the little
Be very
ones.
strict, wouldn't they?
You
know.
If they've stolen, these people are all kidnapped. And also, that's a good point. Actually, there's hundreds of these ninjas. So have they been kidnapping?
No, they got a
people
bit sloppy
for
by the
years,
end. Just grabbing all sorts by the end. When they run out of military guys, what are we going to do? Why haven't these guys been turned into ninjas yet?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're just being kidnapped and just left there.
They need someone to rescue, I suppose.
How long have they been stuck there for? Was it a couple of weeks or something like that?
So it wasn't until after they were taken that the base commander asked for help from
Right.
Washington. So it must be a...
Washington, we've got an issue with ninjas. Right, I'll get right on it. Oh, he's called American. They call him American Ninja now. That's his kind of name. Is that his kind of like his screen name, I suppose?
It's amazing to think he was pretty much the first American ninja. The first. It depends whether you count Chuck Norris as. It's not clear whether Chuck Norris is a ninja or a karate expert in the octagon, and then in Ninja 3, The Domination, you've got Lucinda Dickey playing a ninja, but she's possessed by a ninja. Is she actually a ninja? There's a few vagaries here and there, and there's plenty of Asian actors or Asian-born actors playing ninjas in American movies, but for some reason they just didn't really think to do it.
No.
Obviously,
not at all.
Cole in Enter the Ninja is meant to be Texan, but played by an Italian. There were a few on TV, strangely. There was before this had happened, before American Ninja 2, there were 2 or 3 TV series, including a Chips spin-off. Did you ever watch Chips back in the day?
I saw a little bit on like UK Gold or something like that, or maybe Sky One, maybe.
There's an
Like,
amazing
I never
episode.
Probably watched it.
There's one that's a spin-off, what do they call it? A backdoor pilot in America for a ninja-themed spin-off, and it's a team of ninjas who are secretly policemen, or policemen who are secretly ninjas, and they have to fight one of their own, played by John Rhys Davies. So John Rhys Davies plays a master ninja. It's amazing.
Hell. God, I bet he wishes to forget about that, doesn't he? Someone goes up to him, don't mention Lord of the Rings, mention Chips, him playing a ninja.
Oh, there's plenty of things you could embarrass John Rhys Davies with.
He said
Plenty.
before Lord of the Rings. Well, that's sort of between Indiana Raiders of the Lost Ark and Lord of the Rings. He's been in a lot of weird shit.
In fact, actually, he's in a Sam Furstenberg movie called I can't remember if it's Cyborg Cop or Cyborg Cop 2, which has exactly the same plot as this. It's a guy on a tropical island kidnapping soldiers to turn them into super soldiers. And
my God.
Hero goes to investigate because his brother's taken.
Perfect double bill, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a fun movie too.
Yay, firework explosions, yay. Come on, Dudikoff.
Oh, that's why it's got the red belt, isn't it? So we can tell it's him
Distinguish-
amongst the others.
Yeah, that was a good shot there, Dudikoff looking up. That's a good shots of Dudikoff, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Sort of good. He's good at posing.
Yeah, those money shots.
Yeah.
They're all stolen from Shokasugi.
Oh, really?
Almost every time you see a non-martial artist doing a ninja pose, especially in a poster, it's always based on Shokasugi. He was actually a ninjutsu master. He was, unlike Mike Stone and all the other guys who played ninjas who were very good martial artists, Shokasugi was actually a ninja.
Oh, wow.
Quick, shoot lots of fireworks at each other. Here he comes.
Oh, that's the best bit. Think of the gun he's got. That's an automatic shotgun in it or something. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it looks like it,
It's
doesn't it?
shotgun. Yes. Look what he's wearing. It's just...
And everyone else is just kind of wearing whatever they fancy. There's no uniform or...
We've got Crocodile Dundee as well. Oh, there we go. I don't think he got shot then. That was weird.
What do we do now, Leo?
They look like some kind of random militia rather than an elite Marine Corps unit. Maybe it's because it's not an official mission. Actually, I suppose it could be that it's not official.
Yes, they go. It's like It's like going to school in your regular clothes
Yeah.
instead of your normal uniform.
They call it a mufti day now.
A mufti. Really? Oh, he's going to blow up. There's ninjas who are cooking.
I trained with the Royal Shakespeare Company, and here I am having to deliver this monologue. Well, I was the teenage Frankenstein. Imagine how I feel.
Yes.
There we go.
Nothing beats the explosion though of earlier. That was the best explosion.
Yeah.
There we go. Steve James is going to get to show off to the fullest now.
This is the scene he had written into his contract, I'm sure.
Look at those blades.
Yeah. I'm surprised he's still got that vest on.
Surely it should just like fly off him, like, with his charisma. Just goes, and it's like just ends up completely naked.
Here we go. It's happened.
Unleashes his raw power when he takes his top off. When I first watched this, I thought the final fight was a bit. It felt like it was just cut short. It happens quite quickly. It doesn't go on for as long as it should do.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm misremembering, but I'm sure it felt a bit of a rush to the end. Maybe because they're both so good, it's not going to go on for that long.
Well, maybe they were going for realism, because in real life, these fights would only last for seconds.
Well, it's like watching those MMA fights, isn't it? You always think it's going. It usually just results in someone just pinning them, and then just choking them out.
Yeah.
Ends up being actually quite boring to watch.
I know, it's rubbish, isn't it? Frankly,
you really want where the fly kicks and where's this and that, Give me some dragon punches.
Yeah, I'd rather watch Bloodsport than an MMA fight any day.
Oh god, he's loving this, isn't he?
We were robbed, man. We were robbed when he left us.
I know. God. See, if he didn't pass away, he would have been in the Expendables easily.
Oh, can you imagine?
Oh.
And how
It's going full Bruce Lee.
he'd be. Yes.
Stay down. So why wasn't Dudikoff in the Expendables? God, they really screwed up the casting on those movies.
Yeah, especially as they're produced by Avi Lerner, who was the producer on this. But I've always assumed he was either he doesn't get on with someone, which I find it hard to believe. He's meant to be a good chap, as far as I can gather, or does he just not want to be involved in any of that shit anymore?
Oh, I don't know. If the money's good, I'm sure he'll be like, yeah, I'll do it.
It's a good question, actually. Yeah, why isn't he?
It's odd, isn't it? Because when they did the Expendables first one, I was still like, why hasn't he got so and so or this person, or even at the sequel, they started sort of listening to the fan base, but still you had additional characters who were just why are they in this?
Yeah, why is I've got nothing against Terry Crews and the wrestlers, but
as a fan, you want the 80s kind of stars. Doesn't matter if it's A star or B star.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's where was Cynthia?
yeah,
for God's sake,
exactly. Yeah. The B and C level stars. So your Lauren Avedons and your David Bradleys. Where are they?
Yeah. Because those movies all made shitloads of cash on video, and that's where most people were watching these movies and found these stars.
And people like Terry Crews and I can't remember, who's that white guy with cauliflower ears? The wrestler.
Wasn't he a wrestler too, wasn't
I can't
he?
remember.
NFL
But they're like leading men in traditional low budget action movies these days. It's not that's not a flashback.
No.
They wasted Scott Adkins as well, making him a sidekick to.
Just a sidekick, yeah.
If you're going to have someone from the modern, I suppose that's what Statham's there for. But if you're going to have a modern action star, a nod to today, then there's only one man, and it's Scott Adkins.
Indeed. He did. And again, we get repeat shot, takes the mask off, boom, it's Dudikoff.
Money shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they come in to say, so you shot Dudikoff. Oh my god, I'm so sorry. You're wearing a ninja outfit. Thumbs up.
That is I remember thinking that was the coolest response. Michael Dudikoff's just the barest of nods in response to Steve James. Then, when I was a kid, I thought that was the coolest thing ever.
The barest of nods. Oh dear. I should put it on his CV. Skill. Just the barest of nods. Oh dear.
And now they're all just kicking back in their civvies with a beer. This is how the Marines work when they're guarding an embassy.
Yep, Dudikoff's plans: get the fuck out of South Africa. That's his plan.
Oh, the sequel. This is a movie that should have a sequel, a direct sequel with the same characters. I mean,
Oh yeah,
it would really work.
who would they be fighting though? They also got more ninjas.
And I've just realised you can't do it without Steve James anyway, can you?
Because let's say the ninjas are being formed out of a volcano.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
volcano beasts.
Why not?
Why not? And they're like, there's some sort of Greek myth thing, and they're sort of like brought back by, I don't know, Zeus or something, something ridiculous. Cannon will be like, amazing! Movie of the century! He's got to write that kid a check now. He's giving him so many tips. $5? God. He's rinsing him.
He's one of those tourists that goes to incredibly poor countries and then haggles over 5p on a souvenir.
Cheapskate through and through. Was he giving him a pen? Was he giving him?
Swiss Army.
Swiss Army. No.
To be fair, I'd have been well happy with that at that age.
Yeah, you can break into things and cut people and yay.
Clean horses' hooves.
Clean horses. Yeah. Bum. There's some cool little synth stuff in this, but you can tell like the score was done like 1 week, and we give you 500 quid. That's about it. What?
Oh. Beautiful.
Oh yeah, really entertaining movie.
Well, it's a fantastic movie, isn't it? It really is.
It just gives you what made American Ninja 1 so successful, and just cut out some of the fat, and just give you what you want. Because the first one is a bit, like the plot is like wafer thin. It's kind of a bit too long-winded for its kind of story.
There's far too much of Dudikoff and the daughter running about, escaping things and bonding.
Yeah. Especially the opening sequence where they're running through like the forest, it just goes on for ages, and but yeah, this is like doesn't mess around.
Armstrong's a much more personable character as well this time round, because he does more and says more and so on. And Steve James, obviously, his performance in the first one was vindicated, so he doubles down on it in this one, which is just great. And there's no mucking about. It's pure Sam. The first one is the only one of Sam Furstenberg's movies that it doesn't feel like a Sam Furstenberg movie. It's not got that tight, no nonsense, proper B movie feel. It feels more like it's trying to be an A movie and it's trying to appeal to a broader market.
Yeah. But it's just unfortunate that I think at most points Sam Furstenberg was kind of burnt out on doing ninja stuff now, because he didn't do the third one. He didn't do the fourth one, did he?
No.
I know, because Dudikoff comes back for the fourth one. He's like a supporting role, right?
Yeah, I think it got a bit confusing as well, because by then because the third and fourth are canon movies, but I think I'm right in saying they were made under the they're They were made
was
after
under the-
they were forced
yeah.
out, after Golan and Selma were forced out.
Yeah, because Menachem Golan. This is the last movie Dudikoff did with Menachem Golan and Euron Globus.
Yeah,
you know.
so I think Furstenberg kind of was forced out with them. He was part of that old regime that because he then went on to make movies with New Image, which are similar kind of B movie exploitation style.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But yeah, he comes back in the fourth one, which is they're all right.
Maybe
of course,
saying
moved
the
to
third
the
one.
city.
The third one's quite silly and entertaining as well. Despite I think made it even cheaper than this one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's definitely cheaper. And yeah, to be honest, the fourth and fifth are very much the same as the third in my mind.
Oh, the fifth one, yeah. The fifth one has like different names, doesn't it? I think sometimes it is called American Ninja 5. Sometimes it's called is it American Samurai or something?
No, American Samurai is a different movie, but it stars the
different
same
movie.
guy.
Right.
American Samurai
where the confusion comes in.
was Sam again. Brilliant. There you go. That's just a thing of beauty, that, isn't it? That logo with those words around it. What more do you want?
Well, everyone, that is the end of the commentary. Hope you enjoyed it. Me and Rob will be back because we will, as promised, we will be doing Alien vs Predator Requiem, which is going to be a lot of huffing and puffing and complaining, I imagine. I'm sure there's going to be like one or two good nuggets of stuff in it when you can see what's going on.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Weirdly, if you look at the trailer for AVP Requiem, you can actually see what's going on because they've clearly graded it so you can see what's happening, but not the movie, of course. No. We'll just leave that pitch black throughout the entire thing. I can hear it, but I can't see it. But anyway, folks, take care of yourselves and goodbye for now.
Goodbye.